Well, welcome along to the Timeform Sporting Life Weekend Best Bets. David Ord, joined by Matt Brocklebank. You're not on your own this week, Matt. You've got one more person in here than last week.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, here we go. We're going to look ahead to the big races at Sandown and Aintree. Let's start at Sandown, the Betfair Tingle Creek Chase with a red-hot favourite, 1-2 Jonbon. Video action of him winning on his return in the Schlurve at Cheltenham. I think most people describe this as efficient. What did you make of it?
I think that was probably bang on. Now, the important thing I suppose to stress here is that he was efficient, slightly workmanlike, but got the job done again. If you go back to last year's race in the Schlurve, he bolted up. He really did. And then on the back of that, he almost recoiled a little bit in the Tingle Creek. So if you look at which way Connections would rather want it, they'd probably rather he was a bit more workmanlike in this race on his comeback, knowing fine well that he was probably going to sharpen up for the race. And now they can go into the Tingle Creek really confident that he's absolutely A1. And I actually expect him to put up a very impressive performance this weekend. I know that these horses in behind as well, they ran encouraging races. You've got to respect them. They're very capable on their day. They're a little level below, aren't they, Jonbon? He is very close now to that sort of elite level of 2-mile chaser.
I think it's great that they are reopposing Boot Hill, because too often we see horses get beat once and they decide there's no point locking horns again.
They've every right to, haven't they?
100%.
And Boot Hill, he likes going right-handed. That's probably a bonus for him. He is a couple of pounds worse off than he was in the Schlurve because he was unpenalised. This is obviously a level weights grade 1. Edwardstone, I think he was kind of held onto. He looked like he might come on for the run as well at Cheltenham, and he might go forward again this time. So last year, if you think back to when he was really impressive, he made all around Newbury. I think they might try and be a bit more aggressive on him as well. So it should tee up nicely because there are other pace horses in the race as well. Quilixios, who will come to the Irish horse. He's a forward goer. I can't imagine Master Chewy's going to hang around either. So yeah, it should be an exciting race to watch, as it always is. 2 miles, the railway fences at Sandown. The Tingle Creek is known for being a special race over the years. Some fantastic horses obviously won this race. And hopefully we see a really top horse crowned again.
Jonbon top on Timeform ratings. He's 183 weight adjusted. Edwardstone next best at 175. Back on 170 is Quilixios. Fascinating runner. Henry de Bromhead in front here in the Cheveley Park Silks. Matt, I mean, de Bromhead's he's had plenty of good 2-milers on his hands over the years, and it's a sporting shout to come over and have a crack at the Tingle Creek with this fella.
Yep, he went close, didn't he, as well, a couple of years ago with Special Tiara. De Bromhead, yeah, he's realistic, I think, hearing his words earlier in the week. Now, Quilixios is an interesting horse. He was a quality 4-year-old. He won the Triumph Hurdle at Cheltenham, a really good juvenile hurdler. And then he did go missing a little bit, like it can happen. 4-year-olds can find it tough the following season when they're thrown into either the champion hurdle or they go novice chasing. And he struggled a little bit. But it looks like he's got his mojo back. This was a really good performance. The front two came nicely clear. And obviously he's beating the odds-on favourite there, the former Cheltenham Festival winner. So he comes away. He jumped really nicely in the back straight. 3 fences come nice and quickly, one after each other, which should stand him in very good stead going into a race like this at Sandown. I would say he might get done for speed late doors. That would be my concern with Quilixios. He is a strong stayer at the trip, but we are expecting some more heavy rain, aren't we? So it can soon get very testing at Sandown. Hopefully it's all systems go anyway, but it will be a testing surface. And ideally, I don't think that's perfect for Jonbon, but his class should see him through.
Let's talk about JPR1. We've got him winning the Haldon Gold Cup on a day where there was a deluge of non-runners at Exeter. This looked the most meaningful race on the afternoon. How significant a performance do you think this was from the winner?
It was a significant performance. The first 2 were quite well back, weren't they? It was a good betting race. It was a good a warm market. J-Lo was popular in the market through the day, and he ran his race apparently as well. Finished a good second, just beaten 3/4 of a length by JPR1, who came through really quite stylishly. He is a high-end handicapper. We knew that from his days over hurdles. And if you go back to sort of stable visits at the Tizzards, I remember when he first arrived at the Yard, they have always held him in very, very high regard. And it's a question now of him really maturing, beginning to reach his peak, and it's where his ceiling lies. And this is a big acid test for him, because they could have gone for maybe a stepping stone towards the spring, but it's really good to see that Connections are willing to pitch him into a race like the Tingle Creek, because he gets the race won really nicely. I know J-Lo rallies late on, but JPR1's got a bit about him. I really like the way he goes through his races, and if there's a bet maybe without Jonbon or to pick up the pieces, then if those like Quilixios, Master Chewy and maybe Edwardstone go up against Jonbon and get bruised and really do damage their own claims, then a horse like JPR1 under Brendan Powell might be smuggled into it to pick up the pieces and ridden to, give Jonbon a bit of a fright late doors. So he's probably the one who could be a little bit overpriced, certainly in the betting without.
Before we move on to Aintree in the Becher Chase, a quick line on the Henry VIII. It's a fascinating runner. Five runners. We've got Loda Sud, a red-hot favourite, but a couple of significant challenges from Gordon Elliott and Rhubarb making his chasing debut for Paul Nicholls. I think it's the race of the day.
It's a fascinating race. Yeah, it really is. Rubo's interesting. He's a big price. Now, I suppose he's won, I think, 9 times in his life, 7 of which have come on ground described as good. Now, that was the concern with him. So we might end up with 3 or 4 runners here. That would be my fear. Obviously, if they all go, you're looking at a really fascinating race. Touch Me Not. I was impressed with him. I was working the other Sunday. It was only, 13 days ago, a couple of weeks ago. Won the Craddockstown. And he won it from the front in the manner of a horse who's really getting the hang of things over fences. And I think he might be a horse that gets underestimated. Not necessarily today. I'm fascinated with him with the long term in future. I think he could come really good in the spring. He's already, had a couple of starts this autumn, and the ground hasn't been too bad. Now, if he's beaten here, he's one I am quite keen to keep on in mind. The stablemate down memory lane. He was really highly regarded, wasn't he? He went into last year's future champions at Leopardstown, the novice hurdle there, the Grade 1 at Christmas, as quite a warm order. I think he was 3-1, 5-2, didn't perform and missed the rest of the season. So clearly went wrong. Seems to have really matured and developed in the intervening period. Time off the track's done him well, and he came back and really put in a bloodless performance on his chasing debut. Has taken to the game extremely well. Having said all that, Loda Sud is a horse I love, and I think if he is the horse that the Skeltons think he is, he really should be winning this. They think he's a proper Arkle contender, and if he is that, obviously we've got a couple of Gordon Elliott challengers here this weekend. You're going to have at least a couple of Willie Mullins horses come Cheltenham, so I think he's going to have to win it. He's really impressed me. It's Stratford, Cheltenham. He's jumped well. He's looked the part. He's travelled. He's improved significantly from going from hurdles to fences, and that's without getting yet his preferred softer ground. So he could yet step up again another £7 to £10, which I really hope he does, because I'd like to see him sort of cast these strong Irish contenders aside before the competition gets even hotter as we head into the spring.
Let's head up to Aintree then for the Becher Chase, a Boyle Sports Becher Chase over the Grand National fences, as was the Grand Sefton last month. We've got video footage here. King Turgeon winning this Grand Sefton. And Matt, this looks a key piece of form going into the Becher too.
Yeah, it often is. It tends to be a nice sort of tee-up job for the Becher. It is a very different race, though. Don't forget, this was on good to soft ground. It's 2 miles 5, so they're going another half mile, aren't they? And it's going to be much deeper ground. That's really important to stress. They're going to get hit with some more wet weather at Aintree. Again, fingers crossed for them. But King Turgeon does it very well. I suppose it's all good and well being kind of like a stone well in and winning these races at Chepstow and Aintree. He has gone up £15 in total for those runs, and now he's in deeper company. So the big challenge now comes as he bids to seek his hat-trick. He's clearly improved for the wind surgery that he underwent through the summer months. He's got loads of experience in France. I mean, a French bred over the national fences, Dave, you go back a few years, it would have been unheard of, wouldn't it?
You'd be against it. Wasn't it?
Would, yeah, but he's obviously taken to it really well, and he won with plenty to spare. But this is a tougher race. It is a tougher race. It's a longer trip, and he's 4-1. So I think we're happy to take him on.
Let's look at another horse in action at Aintree. It's Jonbon in the 2023 Becher. Gloomy conditions that day as well.
Horrible. These were awful conditions. Not many finishes here. I think 4 or 5 finished. Jonbon just sort of jumped them silly, relished in the conditions. We were speaking about this. We've got a name check, Timeform's Phil Turner as well. The Becher can be such a stamina-sapping race, and really, you want a slow, steady horse who is going to jump their way towards the head of affairs and really grind the finish out of those who might have a little bit more speed. And Jonbon's exactly that. Now, he is £5 higher in the weights. That would be my slight concern. So he's a little bit higher, but he's obviously won with a fair margin here from Coco Beach, who was top weight and really struggled that day to fully see it out. And I wonder if we might see the same from Chianti Classico having his first go. I know Kim Bailey's quite keen to see what he can do over the fence fences with Aintree in mind come April. But Chianti Classico, 12 stone on what could be soft, heavy ground, is really a grueling test for him. I'd be looking further down the weight. Chambord has a chance, but I'm against him this time around.
Go on then. Let's sign off with something in the big shades. What have you got for us that's working further down?
Well, Iron Bridge, and importantly, he's well handicapped. He was a horse that, if you go back a couple of seasons, I remember speaking to John Joe O'Neill at like a Cheltenham Weights launch. And he was a novice at the time, and he was almost looking at getting him in like the Ultimate or the Kinmure. It didn't quite happen because the ground was too decent for him. He really does want a good ease in the ground, this horse. And if you go back to that season as a novice, he went to Uttoxeter for what is traditionally a really good novices handicap there. I think it's at the end of Cheltenham Week, isn't it, on Midlands National Day. And he was really unlucky. He finished really close second to Autonomous Cloud of Fergal O'Brien's, and he got bumped about a bit at the end. He was very unlucky, but the first two came about 17 lengths clear, and they both got hammered by the handicapper. And it's taken him a good while to really sort of find his feet and come back down to his level. But I thought he's shaped really well on his seasonal debut at Carlisle. I think the form is going to work out quite nicely from that. And he runs off the same mark here. So down to 136. He was as high as 145 at the end of his novice day. So a strong stayer who loves soft ground, and the Hemming Silks in over the national fences. It's a fine sight, Dave, isn't it, as we know?
It is, even if it is gloomy and muddy, which it looks like being at Aintree on Saturday. Thanks to Matt for his thoughts there. We'll be back next weekend looking ahead to the Christmas meeting, as it's now called, at Cheltenham. The big betting race there, the December Gold Cup.